My name is Celestial Derp and I'll be your guide for this evening. So today I wanted to talk about the fact that we still don't quite have a ban list in the TCG. So what I wanted to do here today was I wanted to talk about what I think could happen on the ban list. Now, this is just my speculation. This is just, what I think is going to happen or what I think should happen. Um, so for banned cards, we have four of them. Four cards that I think should be banned. Zodiac Barrage, I think everybody agrees with this one. Broad Bull, I also think everybody agrees with this one. And the one that people might not be expecting here is Zodiac Chakanine. Zodiac Chakanine is basically a one-card Mrs. Radiant. And I mean, whereas I think if the rest of the deck gets hit, that's not that big of a deal. I'm not quite sure how the TCG is going to handle this one, and I believe the card is going to get banned, even though I'm not exactly sure that it needs to. Again, just my little prediction here. And then the last card for banned is Spiral Quick Fix. See, here's my qualm with Quick Fix. The fact that Quick Fix is not once per turn. That to me is really the biggest problem of Spiral Quick Fix, is that the card is like neither of its effects are once per turn, and to me that's the whole reason why the deck is good in the OCG and why the deck is topping so much in the OCG, is because Quick Fix's effect isn't once per turn, and because of that you can just bring it back over and over and over again, and every time you summon it you get a card from your deck to your hand that when you send Quick Fix to the graveyard, hey, this card that you just searched off it, you can send it to the graveyard to bring Quick Fix back and then search another card. It's actually free. It's an absolutely free loop as long as you start with Quick Fix or 1-for-1, because Quick Fix is a level 1 monster. So, and as long as Quick Fix is searchable off of Spiral Resort as well as summonable off of 1-for-1, I don't think limiting it to any status would hurt the deck at all. And I mean at all. Because OCG builds are playing Destrudo to go for Ancient Fairy Dragon, and even if you open with a monster that you can normal summon plus Dragon's Ravine, you'll get to your Quick Fix and you'll get to all of your stupid link plays. So, like, I've seen everybody and their mother posting, all these loops and stuff, and the only singular card, and I hear a lot of people say, oh, this deck is stopped by hand traps, but it's not. It's just not. Firewall Dragon is overpowered, let's be real here, and Firewall Dragon can loop basically anything that you want it to. Even if Firewall Dragon was limited, it wouldn't matter, because most of the builds that I see of this deck are only playing one Firewall Dragon. So, like, limiting Firewall Dragon doesn't even do anything to this deck. So, honestly, I think the best hit for Spirals would be to ban Quick Fix, since it is clearly the most broken card within the archetype. Next, for limits, we have several cards here for our limited section. First of all, Rapier, I think we can all agree with this one. Rapier being able to special summon another copy of itself as long as more than one copy of the card exists legally in the game. I mean, Rat can just go to 1, and then it's no big deal. Whiptail, I also think that Whiptail is by far one of the most powerful pieces. I'm not sure if limiting it is the way to go, but like I feel like it's too strong at 3. Maybe 2, maybe 1, but I see a limit being much more likely on this card. Because, just the ability to banish any monster that it battles, just being able to slap an Xyz over it, and then that Xyz can banish any monster that it battles, that's really, really strong, and in my opinion, it's unfair in the game. Zodiac Dryden, I think we could all agree on this one. A quick effect that pops a card it's strong, but what makes this card so strong is the ease of summoning it. You only need one Zodiac monster. Normal summon a Zodiac monster, slap a Dryden over it. It's stupidly easy, and it doesn't require any real resources outside of that one monster, and I think that's where Dryden has its biggest problems. But Dryden could stay at 1. Dryden doesn't need to get banned like a lot of people think. Dryden at 1 is still perfectly fine by me. Next, Dragonic Diagram, whereas some people are calling for this card to be banned. I don't actually think that's necessary. I think one diagram and one masterpiece would be good enough as long as we hit the rest of the field spell support thoroughly enough. Like, these cards are powerful. These cards are very, very powerful, but I don't think that they are necessarily ban worthy. And if I could also interject real quick, one card that I would also like to see come off the ban list would be, I would like to see Towers also come to one, because I feel like if Masterpiece can exist, I feel like Towers also can. Towers might be a little bit harder to get over than Masterpiece, but Ma- Towers also requires a lot more resources to make compared to Masterpiece, where you can just tribute spells and trap cards, like tribute continuous spells and trap cards, and that's not even hard. Whereas Towers requires 3 Cleafort monsters tributed to summon it, or 2 Cleafort monsters and a sacrifice. You know, it takes a significant amount of resources to make Towers, and that's why Towers is a little bit harder to get over than Masterpiece. But Tower's effect is also can only be activated on your turn, whereas Masterpiece's effect can be activated during either player's turn. So that Utopia the Lightning is not getting over Masterpiece unless you bait out its effect first. Whereas Towers, oh, you can just summon that lightning and then just run over Towers. It's no big deal. So, I feel like if Masterpiece can exist, Towers can also exist. Our next card, limited to 1, is Set Rotation. Now, Set Rotation is, like, even at 2, I feel like this card is too strong, considering that we're in an era of Yu-Gi-Oh! That I would call the field spell era, where we've got field spells like Dragonic Diagram, Spiral Resort, Union Hanger, and like Lost World. Like, we've got a bunch of crazy ass field spells. Let's not also forget Dragon's Ravine. Like, we've got a shit ton of field spells everywhere, and I feel like Set Rotation might be a little bit too strong at the moment. So I'd like to see Set Rotation go to 1, because I feel like that search ability of the field spells is really, really ridiculous right now. And while we're on the subject of field spells, I would also like to see Chicken Game come to just 1. I feel like the OTK doesn't exist if Chicken Game is only at 1, or the FTK only exists if Chicken Game is only at 1. So I'd like to see Chicken Game come back to 1. I feel like 1 Chicken Game would be fair. I feel like 1 Chicken Game would be, balanced in the game and how it's looking to turn out. And also, Dinglong, first of the Yang Zings, is, if we're all familiar, dinosaurs are very strong. And dinosaurs are really, really abusing the shit out of Denglong. And Denglong being, at 1 probably still isn't enough. Okay? I'm going to say it again. Denglong going to 1 probably still isn't enough to hit dinosaurs. I feel like to hit dinosaurs, we'd also need to hit another piece of the deck. And I'm not quite sure what would be the best piece to hit. Personally, I think the best card that you could hit in dinosaurs would be Baby Ceresaurus. I actually feel like Baby Ceresaurus is one of the biggest problems that dinosaurs have, and the fact that Baby Ceresaurus is still at more than 1 is kind of a problem. The thing about Petite Pterodon is that Petite Pterodon can only special summon level 4 or higher, which means that Petite Pterodon can't summon itself. And that's where I think the problem with Baby Ceresaurus exists, is that Ceresaurus can summon itself. So Denglong needs to go to 1, and another piece of the dinosaur deck needs to be hit, whether you think that's Oviraptor, Miscellaneousaurus, Baby Ceresaurus, or even Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, which, all honestly to me, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno is way too strong. Like, that's another card that I also feel like could potentially be banned. Like, I could honestly see Ultimate Conductor Tyranno being a ban-worthy card, and you know, it's just one of those things. Next on our limited list, we have El Shaddoll Construct. Now, I want to talk about Construct here real quick. Shaddolls aren't doing anything. Shaddolls right now don't really have a light archetype that they could benefit from in the same way that they used to, considering that we're in the Link era. Um, so, Construct not doing anything could probably come back to one. Uh, and then next, Cyframe Lord Omega. We all know that Cyframe Lord Omega is easily abusable in the Vrains era, so I just think that the card should go to one. Still having it at multiples is really strong. I don't know if you've ever been double Omega or triple Omega, but it's not fun. It's really not fun. And that's one of my honest goals for the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I want to see Yu-Gi-Oh! Move in a more fun direction. While still maintaining a competitive air to it. So, Cypher Lord Omega to 1, I feel like that would be like about the fairest hit that we can make on the or on the archetypes that play Cypher Lord Omega. And I'm specifically talking mostly about zombies and Lightsworns here. Or basically any deck that plays That Grass Looks Greener, or you know what I mean. So Cypher Lord Omega to 1, I feel like that'd be fair. Because at least at the end of the day, Omega recycles itself. So, like, I don't think the card ever needed to be at more than 1. I feel like the card could have got limited to 1 on the first ban list after it was released, and it would have been fine. That being said, let's move to our semi-limits. So, first semi-limit, El Shaddoll Fusion. Like I said, Shaddolls haven't done anything since Construct was banned. Like, they haven't really done much since Construct was banned. I mean, I guess there were Train Dolls, but, like, that was a product of circumstance more than anything else. The fact that Shekinaga is a level 10 machine Earth, I feel like the deck went together decently, but in the Link era, that deck certainly would not function quite the same. So next we have Inzektor Dragonfly. Dragonfly is like questionable to me because I'm really not big on the whole monsters that special summon from the deck. At least Dragonfly does have a restriction that you can't special summon another copy of itself. So I feel like Dragonfly could go to 2. Inzektors haven't done anything in a long time. So, yeah, just bring it back to 2. It wouldn't hurt anybody. Next we have Max C. Now, this is probably where I'm going to get some of the hate, if not for Spiral Quick Fix being banned, or I'm suggesting Spiral Quick Fix to be banned. If that's not where all the hate comes from, then other people are going to hate on the fact that I think Maxi should go to 2. Now, a lot of people are calling for this card to be banned, and where I see that as a valid argument, I would like to also say that the reason why people think Maxi should be banned is because it feels like such a luck sack. Like, it feels like, oh, he opened with the 1 of Maxi, right? But if you put Maxi to 2, it's going to be like, you don't see it every game, but it's not going to feel like such a luck sack when you do get hit with it. And also, I feel like Maxi is a necessary evil in the game in some ways. Like, Maxi is that card that says, either you have to give me a bunch of cards or you have to limit the play that you're going to make. And in the format of Yu-Gi-Oh! That we are in right now, we need a card like that. We need a card like Maxi. And if you want to also further the idea of a card that would stop your opponent from going off, and you want to play something other than Maxi, or you want to play a card that's better going first, whereas Maxi's generally not that good going first. You want to play a card that's better going first, there's always a card like Summon Limit, where it kind of does the same thing. It prevents your opponent from being able to summon a bunch of fucking monsters and go off. So I feel like Maxi would not be bad to go to 2. Whereas you wouldn't see it all the time, but you would see it enough for it to have its respectable impact on the game without being too overpowered. So just thoughts right now. Next, Mind Control. Now, Mind Control Mind Control is interesting to talk about in the Link era because Mind Control is that card where, like, I almost feel like it's a staple at this point in the Link era. If you're playing any deck that can actually use Link monsters outside of things like Link Haribo or Mrs. Radiant or Master Boy or whatever, like if you can use more, like if your deck uses more generic Link monsters, Mind Control is a fantastic support card for the Link era. And with that being said, I feel like Mind Control could come to 2. Um, it's it would be really interesting to see. It doesn't have to be like go to 3 immediately, but like I'd like to see Mind Control tested at 2 because I feel like it could do enough but not do too much at the same time. So our next semi-limit is terraforming. Now I've mentioned hitting the field spell brigade fairly. I feel like terraforming should go to 2 because like, how do I put it? Terraforming is, yes, it's a nice consistency card, whereas some archetypes really need their field spell. Like, we got next on our list, we got Union Hanger. Like, ABCs are a deck, they really need their Union Hanger. Without Union Hanger, that deck just drowns. So, but terraforming to 2, if we've got Diagram to 1 and Chicken Game to 1 and Set Rotation to 1, like, terraforming would be perfectly fine to exist at 2. I don't think it needs to go to 1, and I certainly don't think it needs to be banned. Terraforming is good for the game as it exists right now. So I would keep it at 2, and I wouldn't put it at more or less than that. With that being said, Union Hanger, I feel like if we hit Spirals and Zodiacs and True Dracos and, the biggest decks right now and Dinosaurs, I feel like if we hit all of those decks, ABCs would come back strong, okay? Right now, I think that ABCs are the next strongest deck outside of the ones that we're already hitting. But the thing about ABCs is that ABCs don't function too well without Union Hangers. So I feel like the best thing we could do for ABCs would be to hit their consistency by putting Set Rotation to 1, by putting Terraforming to 2, by putting Union Hanger to 2. Like, we would seriously stifle the consistency of ABCs, and that would have enough of an impact. That being said, let's move on to our unlimited section. Now, our unlimited section is quite expansive. We have Artifact Moral Attack, which artifacts aren't doing anything. Bring it to 3. It's just not doing anything. Book of Moon, Link monsters are immune to it. It's a nice tech card. If you play it at the right time, you might be able to hurt your opponent to a particular extent. I feel like Book of Moon could come to multiples because I feel like it would be a nice card that you could play in the side deck at multiple copies. It would be really nice for that purpose. If you're playing a deck that needs their cards to be face up, for whatever reason, side deck Book of Moons, and then, you side them in, and then, if you're going first, Book of Moon's a very strong card, and, Book of Moon can go to 3, no big deal. Bottomless Trap Hole also can go to 3. The card, it doesn't do anything. Like right now in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Bottomless Trap Hole is not doing anything. Bottomless Trap Hole, Compulsory, Torrential Tribute, they're mostly too slow. Like, Torrential is the only one I could see here being, that particularly outstanding from the other old staple traps. But Torrential Tribute I also feel like is not strong enough. Like, it could come back to 3 with no problem. So, Compulsory, Bottomless, Torrential, I feel like these are all old staple traps that could all come to 3 and not even be a problem. So, next we have Brain Control. Now, Brain Control, as we all know, Brain Control was eroded, so that you can only take control of a monster that can be normal summoned or set, which means you can't take control of any extra deck monsters. And, there are some main deck monsters that you also can't take control of. So, I feel like Brain Control could come back to 3 because at 1, it's not doing anything. It's probably never going to do anything, to be honest. So, bring Brain Control back to 3, no big deal. Next we have Inzektor Hornet. Now, again, I talked about Inzektors before. the deck doesn't do anything. The deck's probably not ever going to do anything relevant ever again, unless we get some kind of crazy support that happens to help this deck. Um, Hornet, I feel like, is a card that could come back to 3 without any consequences, because, like, Inzectors wouldn't be strong in today's format anyway. Half of all spells and trap cards trigger when they hit the graveyard now. So, like, is Hornet doing anything? Oh, I get to pop your spells and traps, but oh wait, your spells and traps are gonna activate when they hit the graveyard. So it's not like I gain anything out of it actually. Like, the best thing that I get out of it is the equipped monsters effect, like Dragonfly, Centipede. You know, those are the cards that really generate the advantage in this deck, because Hornet's not doing anything. So Hornet, I think, can come back to 3, no big deal. Thunder King Ryo, we got this card to 2. It's still not doing anything too much. I feel like the card can come back to 3. To be honest, Thunder King Ryo is like a very, very fair card. You know, it's a mistake on legs that can negate a inherent special summon by tributing itself, which, to me, it's not unbalanced in any way at the moment. So T King to 3, I'd be perfectly fine with that. Torrential Tributor is already talked about. So the next card that I want to talk about is Wavering Eyes. Wavering Eyes, as we all know, pendulums are not the greatest under the link rules. And even then, Wavering Eyes was only really strong in the formats where pendulums were popular. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. Wavering Eyes was only really good in formats where pendulums were really popular. And at the moment, pendulums are not popular enough for Wavering Eyes to be a significantly powerful card. You know, Wavering Eyes, I remember the days of playing Cleaforts and Magispectors when Wavering Eyes was legal, and if you resolved Wavering Eyes in a Pendulum Mirror match, chances are you won the game. Like, by far, chances are you won the game. You got to wipe out your opponent's Pendulum Scales, you got to banish a card in the field, and most importantly, you got to add another copy of Wavering Eyes from your deck to your hand. Now, that was broken back in those days, but now under the link now under the link era, like, Wavering Eyes just isn't doing anything. Like, it might see play in Pendulum Magicians, but even then, if you Wavering Eyes without a link monster on the board, guess what? Your 2 Pendulum monsters go to your extra deck, and then you can only Pendulum summon one of them anyway. So I'm just saying Wavering Eyes is actually not a good card anymore. I mean, like, I could still see it getting play, especially with Pendulum Graph and everything like that. So, like, I could see the card being played, but the card's not going to be nearly as powerful as it was before the Link era started, and, you know, ever since Pendulum stopped being, like, popular deck choices. So, with all of that being said, I've covered every card in this list except for this one. So, Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird, see, here's what I need to say about Droll and Lockbird, is that right now, the way that I see spirals, like, the only way to stop spirals as they exist, if this card does not get hit, the only card that really stops spirals is Droll and Lockbird. But at the same time, I also feel like Droll and Lockbird is too strong as it exists right now in the game. Not so much as a hand trap, because as a hand trap, I feel like the card is perfectly fair. My biggest qualm with Droll and Lockbird has to be with Trickstars. Now, maybe I'm biased because I've got like 3 or 4 Trickstar players at my locals that come regularly that, you know, it's always Reincarnation, Droll and Lockbird, Reincarnation, Droll and Lockbird. It's terrible. It's just terrible to think that you know, Trickstars are abusing the fact that they have a card that makes your opponent add cards from their deck to their hand, and also a card that banishes their opponent's entire hand to make them draw. So, like the combination of Reincarnation and Droll and Lockbird is too powerful, and I feel like Trickstar Reincarnation is not a bad card in and of itself. I feel like Droll and Lockbird is honestly the problem here. Now, I know that not everybody's going to agree with me on this list, but, you know, these are just things to think about, and I'm not sure if Droll and Lockbird should go to 2 or if it should go to 1. because I feel like at 1, Droll and Lockbird might not do enough. So I kind of feel like the card, like the best spot for the card would be at 2, because like I feel like that would hurt the consistency of the Trickstar combo just enough to deter people from playing, to deter people from trying to make that a major aspect of the deck. So like Droll and Lockbird to 2, I'd be fine with that. And with that being said, I hope you have enjoyed listening to me babble on about the ban list, because yeah, I've been going for a little while here. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.